Welcome to this new episode of Gallmeister podcast. I am Louise, I work at Gallmeister. This episode is in English, but you have French subtitles in the YouTube video. Today, I am honored to welcome Catherine Chidgey. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Louise. It's so lovely to join you.
And so, Catherine, you come from New Zealand.
Yes.
So it's far away. Thank you so much for being there. Such a long trip. You hold a degree in German literature, psychology, and also creative writing. You are now a novelist. You won multiple prestigious awards for your work. And you are translated all around the world, including Italian, German, and now French. You are currently in France to promote the publication of the French edition of the Book of Guilt, Le Livre de la Culpabilité, that is translated in French by Joanne Leray. For the audience that did not have the chance to read it for now, how would you present the plot of the Book of Guilt?
So the Book of Guilt is set in a version of England in 1979 that is not quite historically accurate. In my world that I created for this book, nobody won World War II. Hitler was assassinated in 1943, and then a treaty was agreed upon between the different powers to share scientific advancements, medical research, and the world of England in 1979 grew out of that historical point. So it looks like our world, and it's also different from our world. And in the story, 3 identical triplets, brothers who are 13 years old, are growing up in a children's home in the New Forest in England. And they're the last children living at this home. All the other children have either died, so they are very vulnerable to an illness called the bug, or they have recovered and they have gone to live at the seaside in Margate with all the other children who have recovered. So the principal narrator is Vincent, one of the 13-year-old triplets, and he talks about their lives living in this home where they are raised by 3 mothers, Mother Morning, Mother Afternoon, and Mother Night. And he talks about how their knowledge of the world is based on a set of encyclopedias called the Book of Knowledge. Those are the only books they have ever read. And into their world comes a second narrator, the Minister of Loneliness, whose job it is to close these children's homes throughout England and to release the last remaining children into the community. And this is making the community quite nervous, but we don't know why. And the boys don't know why. And then there's a third strand in the book, which is narrated by a girl called Nancy, who is also 13 and who lives in Exeter. And she has never been allowed to leave the house her entire life. Her parents have been very, very protective of her and have told her that the world is a dangerous place and she must stay with them within their house and garden. And so as the book progresses, these 3 strands begin to intertwine, and the reader understands and the boys understand who and what they are.
Just for you to know, it was a really nice moment at the team when we discovered your book. When your publisher bought it, it was years ago, waiting for the translation being done. She talked about the story like just with maybe 2 sentences, and we were waiting for this text so much. And it's really hard to talk about it because without spoiling the story, it's complicated for me, so I will do my best. Vincent, Lawrence, and William, the triplets, so they are the last residents of the orphanage. And we don't know as a reader if it's because of the society that is not exactly the same that ours, or if it is the orphanage management that is quite questionable. But we feel as readers that something is off. That said, I have a question. Why did you choose alternate history, also known as uchrony, to tell the story of the triplets, rather than creating a completely new fictional world? And why did you choose the Second World War as the starting point?
I'll answer the question about the war first. So I lived in Berlin for 3 years when I was in my 20s, and I studied German, as you said, and it kind of blew my tiny Kiwi mind when I first went to Berlin. So this was in 1993, and it was still very much a divided city, even though the wall had come down. The East was still very evidently a war-damaged city. So you could see lots of buildings in the East that had been bombed and had never been repaired. Or you could see lots of evidence of bullet holes on the walls or shrapnel damage. And I remember that every so often in the news, there would be a story that a bomb had been found. They were excavating a building or, making a car park and digging, and an unexploded bomb would be discovered from the war. And that was insane to me because, the war never physically touched New Zealand. We sent lots of men overseas who died, but the war never came to our shores. It just got me thinking about that dark period of history and how recent it was, how recent it still is, and how right underneath our feet we might be walking across something that can just explode in our faces. And that influence of the past and the long shadows cast by the Second World War really got under my skin. And so I wrote 2 novels set in Nazi Germany. The first was called The Wish Child, and that came out in 2016. And the second was called Remote Sympathy, and that came out in 2020. And I thought, okay, I'm done with that topic now. It's out of my system. I've said what I want to say, except I wasn't quite done with it. So in those 2 novels, I wanted to shine the light on ordinary people. This is a phrase that I use in my books, in those 2 books and in the Book of Guilt, the ordinary people. Our human capacity to look away from terrible things that are happening because we're scared or because we don't want to be bothered, we don't want the trouble. I was fascinated by how the German population could behave the way that they did, and how still after the war they would be able to say, even in a place like Weimar, which is where Remote Sympathy is set, even with Buchenwald concentration camp on their doorstep, they could say after the war, we didn't know what was going on there. So that question of the guilt of ordinary people keeps fascinating me, and that was really the starting point for the Book of Guilt, was thinking about, okay, how would it have looked from, not from the German side, but from the British side? Because I know that, guilt in war is never black and white. It's never clear cut. And the British, the Allies, did terrible things in World War II. I often think about the huge civilian death toll in events like the firebombing of Dresden or of Hamburg. And that was us. That was our side that did that. So in this book, I wanted to think about that guilt of ordinary people and for it to be much closer to home this time. And also to think about, my second book, Remote Sympathy, was set in and around Buchenwald. And I did a lot of research for that novel into medical experimentation in the camps. So this question that has haunted me since then is, ethically, is there ever a sound reason for using the research that was conducted in those camps on humans? Or must we just bury it, put it aside? Often it was pseudoscience anyway, but is there ever a reason that we could use that for good? And I think it's an impossible question to answer. I think it's full of those bombs that will explode. So I don't know the answer to that question, but that was also a seed for the Book of Guilt. And the second part of your question, why an alternative history? I think with all of my books, including those ones set during World War II, I'm not just writing historical fiction, I'm writing about now, and I'm writing about us. And I think for this story, it felt easier to use a world that is very close to ours, with just a few unsettling details that are different. So I didn't want to create a whole kind of sci-fi version of the world that was very different from ours. I think that it's easier for the reader to believe in this alternative history if it looks normal, if pretty much the fashions are the same and certain historical events are exactly the same, the TV programs are exactly the same. It's easier for a reader to accept that this could have been possible. So I just quietly plant little suggestions that this is not quite our world. So quite early on in the book, the triplets are out in the garden and they're looking up at the moon, and Vincent is imagining the moon landing that happened in 1957, and he's thinking of the flags flying up on the moon, the German, the British, and the American. And as a reader, you might just read over that. You might not even notice that. Or you might half notice it and think, no, that's not right. That's not how it happened, and feel a little bit unsettled. Yeah. And that's what I wanted the reader to experience, that sense of feeling a little bit disturbed, a little bit like something is wrong here and I'm not quite sure what.
Actually, Benedict, your friend publisher, told us that you did a lot of research for this book.
Yeah.
This is so true. Thank you for explaining all that. It's so interesting. And actually, there is also a note at the end of the novel where you talk about your research really shortly, but you say that some aspects of the story is based on true facts. For example, the triplets at the orphanage, their life is organized through 3 books. So the Book of Guilt, the Book of Dreams, and the Book of
Knowledge.
Knowledge, thank you. The Book of Knowledge is the only encyclopedia, the only book actually they can read on their own. And it really exists. It was published in 1954. Is the discovery of this specific book is one of the facts, one of the idea that made you want to write the Book of Guilt?
Yes, I knew that I wanted the boys not to have any understanding of literature apart from an old-fashioned set of children's encyclopedias. That was an idea I had very early on. And so I went looking, researching for a real set of encyclopedias that I could use. And I looked at different ones, and then I found this British encyclopedia called the Book of Knowledge. And it's one of those moments in my research where I go, oh, yes, that definitely belongs in the book. That is very important to the book. And it's kind of like it's been waiting for me all along to stumble across it and to discover it. I love those moments of discovery in my research. So that became very important. And I realized that this would allow me to structure the book in those 3 sections, and that it would allow me to talk about the characters' progression through the events of the story. And by that, I mean that the story, the first section, is the Book of Dreams, and it does refer to the book that Mother Morning writes all the boys' dreams in every morning, or if they wake at night and have a nightmare, the boys have to tell their mothers what they dreamt, and the mothers write that down. The boys don't know why, and the reader doesn't know why. But also in that first section, it's a period in the boys' lives when things are quite dreamlike and idyllic and safe, and they have no knowledge of anything beyond the walls of their garden, really. The second of the 3 sections is the Book of Knowledge, and it does refer to those encyclopedias, but it also refers to the time in the boys' lives when they begin to acquire small pieces of information about their lives, about the world outside where they live, and they begin to ask questions. And then the third and final section is the Book of Guilt. And yes, that refers to the book that their mothers write all their misdeeds in, but also to this abiding emotion that will stay with the main characters for the rest of their lives. But you asked about the Book of Knowledge. So I'd only seen it online. I knew the title. I knew this was the encyclopedia I needed to use, but I couldn't find it in New Zealand.
Oh.
Yeah. So I had seen the index online, and I'd seen that there was a map that folds out that shows the world. And this is the other reason I knew that I had to use the Book of Knowledge, was because at one edge of the map is New Zealand, and at the other edge of the map is New Zealand.
That's fun.
I mean, there's nothing else about New Zealand in the book, but I like just placing a little kind of Easter egg or a little kind of trail of breadcrumbs that leads back to me. But also, you know, it spoke to the idea of duplication in the book. And so I thought, well, I'll have a look on Trade Me, which is a New Zealand website, kind of like eBay, you know, where you can sell things. And I found it. I found the Book of Knowledge for sale in Auckland, which is just like an hour and a half drive from where I live. Okay. And it was $20. And it was an Englishman who had emigrated to New Zealand, I think in about the 1960s. And these were his encyclopedias when he was a boy growing up in England. And it was kind of like a miracle.
That's a sign.
It's absolutely a sign, yeah. Yeah.
That's so fun. And okay, so that's why I understand better, because it took a large part in the plot. And I have another question, is that at the orphanage there are 2 ways to live as an orphan. So you can be adopted by a family, good news. Or also another good news, you can be sent to Margate.
Yes.
Margate, you talk about it. It's like a seaside resort where you can go to an amusement park or to go to a shell grotto. So Margate is a real place. We even, by researching by ourselves at the team, discovered that this shell grotto really exists. Yeah. When you finish the book, it means something. It's so great. Like, it's a moment of emotion after you read the book when you discover that. So why did you choose Margate? Is there a specific reason, or is it just like, you found the name of the city, it's fun, and then you add it into the plot?
Yeah, there were a couple of reasons. So the same as with looking for the encyclopedias, I knew I wanted a British seaside town. And so I looked at other places like Brighton. But when I started researching Margate, I realized that there's a big amusement park there, and it's been there for decades, called Dreamland. And it was another one of those moments where I thought, aha, this speaks to the importance of dreams in the book. And the other reason was that I discovered the existence of the Shell Grotto. So this series of underground chambers, and the walls are, they've been tunneled through the rock, and the walls are completely covered with intricate mosaics made from shells, literally millions of shells. And it was discovered in the 19th century, but nobody knows who made it or how old it is.
Okay.
It could be early 19th century, made for a rich man. It could be 2,000 years old. They don't know.
Okay.
So that also seemed to belong in my book because the story is one of mystery. The story of the Book of Guilt is about mystery, and it's about not having knowledge about things that exist very close to you, but not knowing they're there. So I really like this idea of this place, like the bombs. You can walk across that land and not know that there is this incredible, mysterious thing right under your feet. I really love that idea to use in a book that is so concerned with knowledge and lack of knowledge. Yeah, so Margate seemed perfect for that reason.
Okay.
Also, T.S. Eliot went to Margate when he was very depressed, and he wrote The Wasteland in Margate, sitting there beside the sea and looking out across the water.
It's so fun to hear you talk about it, because by explaining how you built this novel, I feel like opening Matryoshka, the dolls, and there is again and again and again something that is a reference to something else.
Yeah. Well, I knew the exact spot where T.S. Eliot sat. So there's a Victorian shelter on the seafront, and I knew that he'd sat there and written part of The Wasteland. So I went there with my phone, and I sat there and got my friend who was traveling with me to take a photo of me sitting where T.S. Eliot sat writing. I was writing on my phone, which is, not very romantic, but he's probably spinning in his grave.
Yes, that's so interesting. And well, there are tons of references to the real world hidden in the book, such as the Minister of Loneliness. You talked about her. So she's one of the protagonists of the story. And actually, it sounds crazy that it was a real function at a moment to be Minister of Loneliness.
Yeah, it does sound crazy. This was another spark for the book. I was, looking at news stories on the internet, and I stumbled across this story about a Japanese politician, and his title is The Minister of Loneliness. And I thought, what is that? That sounds amazing. That sounds dark and poetic, and I need that. That needs to be part of a story that I'm telling. But the really weird thing is that after I'd started understanding what the story was that I wanted to tell and researching it and starting to make notes, in Britain, they established the Minister of Loneliness for real, which is kind of crazy, but also really sad that we need that. Yeah.
There is still a Minister of Loneliness?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's okay. Learning new things every day. Important. Also, the triplets, so they are raised by three mothers. You talked about that. And actually, Mother Night is a reader. She reads one specific book on her free time when the story is set. It's Ulysse by James Joyce. Without any spoiler, if you can. Why this book?
It's a great question. And there are two reasons that I chose this book. And one I can't talk about because it is a spoiler. But the other reason is because the only books the boys know are the encyclopedias. And I'm sure you know the kind of voice that those old-fashioned books talk in. It's a kind of voice of authority. It's the voice of the British Empire. It's a voice that you cannot question. These are the facts. This is the truth. Nothing else matters. And I wanted Vincent to encounter a different way of telling stories. And the way that he begins to enter that world is through Mother Night, who is quite a mysterious figure. The boys don't know her nearly as well as they know Mother Morning and Mother Afternoon, because all their lives she has looked after them when they're sleeping. So I loved this idea that Vincent can't sleep very well at night. The bug, the illness is affecting him, and he has insomnia. So he goes to the room where Mother Night sits during her night shift, and he starts talking to her and starts getting to know her, and strikes up one of the most tender relationships in the book. You know, in a lot of ways, this is a brutal world, but I wanted there to be tenderness as well, and to be actual love between a mother figure and a child. And one night when he comes into the room and she's sitting there, he realizes that she's reading a book, and she quickly tries to hide it because she knows the boys aren't supposed to have access to any other books. And he asks her what it is, and she confesses, well, it's a novel called Ulysse by James Joyce. And I chose that book because it is so different from the voice of the encyclopedias. It's like the antithesis of that kind of book. It's full of poetry, it's full of music, it's full of mystery, and is an example of a really different way of telling a story, and a really different way of talking about the world and about people and about human nature. So I wanted it to be a doorway for Vincent into a different world.
And maybe we can add like a time code to like go to the without spoiler part of the video, but
yeah,
and the spoil reason.
Yes. So the big thing that is revealed to Vincent and his brothers is that they are clones. And the word I use for that in the book is copies. One point in the book, Vincent is eavesdropping, and he overhears two of his mothers talking about an attack on a girl in the forest. So there are 3 girls who live at one of these homes, and when the children are going to be released into the community, they have socialization days, these very awkward days where these young teenagers are kind of put together to learn how to make small talk and how to dance with each other and how to go on a picnic, and it's all very uncomfortable. But Vincent overhears 2 of the mothers talking about something terrible that has happened to one of the girls, and he hears the word copulation. One of the mothers says, was copulation involved? And he thinks, I don't know this word. I don't understand what this word means. I'll go and look in the book of knowledge. So he looks up the index, and he finds that the exact spot where the word copulation would be has been blacked out. It's not there. And it's not in the actual volume either. The reason that I chose Ulysse was because it contains this word, copulation. And Vincent reads it in the book, and he understands that it's somehow linked to what happened to this girl. But the reveal much later in the book is that it's not the word copulation that is missing from the book of knowledge. It's the word copies. And this is the entry that explains what the children are. Yeah.
Okay, so for now, no spoiler. It's okay. You can come back to this time code to have the following questions. I would like to talk a bit about your career, because you have written 9 novels. That is huge. Personally, I can't wait to read the rest of your work. I love this one. So yeah. So to be so productive and creative, what is your writing routine? Do you write every day?
Yeah, I do. My life is very busy. So I teach creative writing at the University of Waikato, where I live, and that's full time. And then we also have a daughter who is about to turn 11, and we have 5 cats.
Wow.
So when I'm in, the generative phase of a book where I'm getting the words down, then I do write 7 days a week, and I write early in the morning. So as soon as I wake up, I roll over, pick up my laptop, and start writing in bed.
Wow.
I find it, I used to go to my office at home and write there, but I actually find it much easier to get into that kind of trance or dreamlike state that I need to be in for writing if I've just woken up and I don't feel quite properly awake. It's easier to enter that zone that I need to be in to write. So I do that for maybe 2.5 hours, and then I take my daughter to school, and then I go to the university and teach for the day. Then I come home, have dinner, put our daughter to bed, read to her every day, and then I start writing again in the evening. I know it's a really brutal schedule, but it seems to work for me. I think I need to engage with a novel every day when I'm in that phase of writing rather than editing and polishing, because my novels have lots of moving parts, and I think it would be really easy. Well, I know it's really easy for me to lose the thread and to forget where I was going to take a particular character or forget what I wanted to do if I'm not looking at it every day. Yeah. So I have no social life. This is my social life.
Pleasure. Yeah, it's pretty intense, actually.
Yeah.
And so what would be, I think I know, but what would be the best part for you by creating a novel? Is it the research? Is it the moment you write or the moment you edit your drafts? I
find it so rewarding. I love the research process. I love those moments where I'm totally surprised by something that I discover. And like I said, I know instantly this is really important to the book. I love that. I love typing the end. There's nothing like that drug of feeling like it's finished. And I think it's not too bad. Like, I'm quite happy with it. It's very addictive. But then I also love the moment after publication when you get to talk to really engaged readers like you about the ideas in the book and what they took from it and how they understood certain aspects of it. I find that really rewarding too. So I think I'm, a really lucky person to be able to do this, to do something that I love and feel passionate about, and to be translated into French for the first time is such a thrill because, it's my 9th novel, and I feel like I can reach a whole new set of readers now. That's great, because I know that for some writers, it's not always a good moment to promote your book and to meet readers and to talk about your work, because it can be really stressful. And, writing is a really monomaniac and loneliness process. Yeah. So it's so different. It's like the opposite. It is. I do find that strange, that writing is so solitary and it's just me talking to the voices in my head. And I do really love that. I like my own company. And, I've been talking about my books since my first one was published in 1998. So while I don't think I'm a natural performer, I don't think I'm a natural public speaker because I'm an introvert, I do think that I've become better at it. And I'm now at the point where, I actually enjoy that side of it. And how was your tour in France? Because actually, if you are here, it's because you just finished your French tour. You went to festival, you went to independent bookstore. Yeah. How was it? It was so wonderful. It was a complete blast. So, we started in Saint-Malo at the amazing festival there. And, one thing I love about those festivals is that I get to meet readers, but I also get to meet other writers and to feel like, yes, I have colleagues, I have something that might be kind of like a normal job. And of course, the setting is stunning. So I did quite a few events there. I met with a wonderful group of readers who established this reading group around Gallmeister books. Yeah. And they came with fantastic questions about the Book of Guilt, some things that I'd never thought about before. And then I did an event in Dieppe at La Maison de la Presse, La Maison de la... Yep. Yes. And then I did another event yesterday with a bookstore in Arras-sur-Moselle called La Petite Librairie.
Yes.
Yes. Really fantastic to meet independent booksellers who are the people who get excited about your work and who sell your work to new readers. You know, the bookshop in Ars, their whole window display was the cover of the Book of Guilt. And that's amazing for me to see coming from the other side of the world. I felt so supported and really warmly welcomed.
So great. So thank you so much for being on tour in France. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
And I have one last question.
Yeah.
And then you are free to go. Well, you said that you are a creative writing teacher at university. Actually, it's not really a subject we teach in French. I don't know why, but we don't really have like university classes to teach that field. Is there like a specific advice you give to your students at the beginning when they want to write fiction? Like, I don't know, trust the process or build a story before to start?
Yes, I tell them that it's very difficult to edit a blank page. And so don't worry too much about getting it perfect the first time. Just get any words down, really rough draft, get your ideas down on the page, and then you have raw material to shift around and to cut and to enlarge on and to edit. You have something to work with. But if you sit there frozen, paralyzed, staring at the blank page, you will never end up writing a book. And the other thing I tell them that I think is so important is you need to show your work to other people. No matter how introverted you are, how shy you are, you need feedback, you need fresh eyes on your work to improve it.
So great. So thank you very much for being with us. It was a lovely conversation.
Thanks, Louise.
And I hope you will come back soon.
I would love to.
With a new book, maybe?
Yes, a new book is being translated into French, but it's a surprise. We can't talk about it yet.
And do you write something else in English, maybe?
Yes, my next book in English is coming out in New Zealand in October and then overseas in February. It's called The Starving Bride.
Okay. Can you talk quickly about the plot? I know we will not translate it for now.
Yeah.
Because, we still have to translate the next one that is not this one.
Yeah.
But can you, maybe quickly talk about the plot?
Yes, so it actually grew out of my research into Margate. I was reading about the sideshows there in the 1930s, the shows that people would come to see. And one of them was The Starving Bride. And as soon as I read that, I thought, what is that? I need to understand. So it was really famous in Blackpool, another seaside location in the 1930s. And a young woman dressed as a bride would lie in a glass case for 40 days and people would come to see her get smaller and smaller and smaller. And I decided to set that in the near future in Blackpool where tourists aren't coming to the town anymore, so they decide to revive all these cancelled old shows. And one of them is The Starving Bride. So the main character, comes to lie in a box for 40 days and to have strangers come and comment on her body while a lion prowls the enclosure. So it's a book about hunger and appetite and bodies and the female body and body image and how we still idolize the starving female form.
And it's out in October?
In New Zealand in October and the rest of the world in February, March.
Okay. I will remember. Thank you so much for being with us. And now I have to speak French for a moment. I'm sorry. Merci beaucoup d'avoir été avec nous pour cet épisode du podcast Gallmeister. C'était encore un plaisir d'accueillir une autrice inspirante comme Catherine Chidgey. Si vous voulez découvrir son livre, il est disponible en librairie. Et si vous voulez lire un livre dans le même esprit parce que vous l'avez déjà dévoré comme notre équipe, n'hésitez pas à en parler avec un libraire qui saura évidemment vous conseiller quelque chose dans le même genre. Ce roman a été traduit par Joanne Leray pour les éditions Gallmeister. Et on vous donne rendez-vous pour un prochain épisode très bientôt qui parlera cette fois de la rentrée littéraire. Il sera tourné, une fois n'est pas coutume, en français et je serai en compagnie d'Oliver Gallmeister et de Bénédicte Adrien, qui est l'éditrice de Catherine Chidgey, pour vous parler de notre programme de rentrée. Merci beaucoup et à très bientôt.